lights were low, the room was cold. You held my hand a little bold. I laughed too light, I drank too fast, hoping the night would never last. I saw the lie behind your grin, but stayed to let your shadow in. The jukebox played a dying tune, and I mistook it for a moon. That was the night I should have left, before your kiss stole what was left, before the silence turned to bruise, before I learned how much I'd lose. I should have walked, I should have run, but I stayed soft beneath your sun. And now the night still haunts my breath, the night I should have left. You told a joke, I forced a smile, pretending pain was worth a while. Your eyes looked past my shaking hand, and I still tried to understand. I wasn't brave, I wasn't dumb, just tired of wondering what I'd become. You called it love, I called it late. I let you twist the hand of fate. That was the night I should have left, before you turned my song to theft, before the warmth became disguise, before your touch betrayed your eyes. I should have stood, I should have known, but begged for crumbs instead of home. And now that night still owns my breath, the night I should have left. Maybe I liked the way you lied. It made me feel like I could hide, but hiding don't erase regret. It just becomes a deeper debt. That was the night I should have left, but love don't always choose what's best. It pulls you close, then lets you fall, and you don't notice it at all. I lit a match but held my hand, and stayed too long in sinking sand. So if you ask what I regret, it's the night I should have left. That was our song, the one with grace, where you would pull me into place, the one we swayed to cheek, back when I still had words to speak. But then I saw you dressed in charm, with someone new tucked in your arm, and as the trumpet hit that line, she danced in steps that once were mine. He danced with her in my song, like I'd been right, but all along he just needed a new refrain to twist the notes and drown my name. And every beat that used to stay now follows her, not me, away. He danced with her like I was wrong in my own damn song. felt cold against my will. The saxophone began to moan, and I was left there all alone. She didn't know the way we moved, the secret verse the rhythm proved, but still she smiled and took my cue and danced as if the song was new. He danced with her in my song, and nothing ever felt so wrong. The melody that held my grace now fit too well in her embrace. The chorus hit my throat, grew tight as she became my ghost that night. He danced with her like I was gone from my own song. I didn't scream, I didn't stay. I let the record play and play, but deep inside the vinyl cracked and every memory danced back. He danced with her in my song, and even though the night was long, I left before the final key could take what little's left of me. He'll never know I watched him sway to the love he threw away, and still that song keeps dragging on, but it's no longer mine since he danced with her in my song. I found it tucked behind a drawer, the photo I had torn before. Edges frayed like promises, but still I held it nonetheless. His smile was faint but still intact, and I remembered what we lacked. The light, the laugh, the way I leaned on something softer than it seemed. It's a picture I tore twice, once in rage, once to be nice. I ripped the paint, then taped it back like stitching tears in paper cracks. And every time I tried to throw it, found a way to not let go. A memory framed in quiet vice, a picture I tore twice. The corners curled from years of doubt, but I still couldn't throw it out. It held the girl I used to be before his shadow leaned on me. He wore that coat, I wore that red. The night before I knew what said can sound like love but cut like shame, and still I whispered out his name. It's a picture I tore twice, once in pain, once to feel nice. I told myself it's just a phase, then stared too long into his gaze. I folded it with trembling care, then cursed myself for leaving it there. Some wounds don't bleed, they just entice, like a picture torn twice. You don't forget with fire and flame. You don't erase a frame with blame. You just return again, again to broken glass and weathered rain. It's a picture I tore twice, a frozen truth in faded splice. I try to hate beginnings choose no end. I burned the rest but kept that face, the only proof he knew my place. A photograph that feels like ice, the picture I tore twice. The picture I tore twice. You asked me how the night had been. I smiled and poured a little gin. Said it's fine with steady tone, while shaking underneath the load. I wore my calm like Sunday gloves and stacked my lies like morning doves. You didn't press, you let it slide. Another truth I had to hide. I said it was fine, it wasn't, but fine was easier to fake. I stitched a grin with quiet thread, so you would never see it break. I played the part, I wore the gloss. You didn't ask what I had lost. I said it was fine, it wasn't, but hurting out loud had a cost. You praised my strength, I bit my tongue. The taste of iron still on lung. You saw my eyes, but not the blur that came from crying. In reverse I tucked the knife behind the laugh. I split my truth in equal half, gave you the version you could bear, and kept the rest locked under there. I said it was fine, it wasn't, but the room preferred that script. I passed the salt, I changed the song while bleeding from an unseen rip. You liked me best when I was still, so I became your windowsill. I said it was fine, it wasn't, but silence always fits the bill. There's safety in a practiced phrase, a shield made out of old cliches. But fine can crack beneath the skin and scream without a violin. I said it was fine, it wasn't, and maybe now I'll say it true. I smiled so you'd feel alright, not 'cause the storm was ever through. But if you ask me one more time, I might not lie with lips this time. It wasn't fine, but I'm still here, and that's my line. The chairs don't creak, the wine is dry, the room won't speak. But in the corner, still in place, the ashtray holds your quiet trace. A lipstick mark, a burn too deep, where promises were put to sleep. It doesn't talk, it doesn't move, but somehow still remembers true. The ashtray still The ashtray hasn't left me yet. The scent still lingers in the glass, like ghosts that time forgot to pass. I tried to toss it once or twice, but pain don't go with sacrifice. The cracks along its porcelain skin look just like how you held your sin, a silent witness in the smoke to every vow you softly broke. The ashtray still remembers how we sat and stared through flame, how you spoke through clouds and ashes while forgetting all my name. It kept the sparks you didn't feel, it caught the burn I couldn't heal. And though it's cold and full of dust, it's the only thing I trust. I talk to it some nights, you know. It listens better than you'd show. It never lies, it never flinches, just holds the weight in scattered inches. The ashtray pulls me back to then. He looked at me with halfway care, like maybe he would almost dare to ask what storm brewed in my chest. But I just smiled and let him rest a practice curl, a softened cheek to keep his questions nice and weak. He held my hand, I held the lie, and kept the truth from passing by. I smiled so he wouldn't ask, wore calm like perfume in a flask. I bent the corners of my lips to hide the tremble in my hips. I smiled so he'd think I'm fine, so he'd keep sipping on his wine. 'Cause if he knew what lay beneath, he'd never kiss me through my teeth. He said I had a gentle face, the kind that made the world feel safe. I let him think that I was peace while folding pain in every crease. It's easier to play the part than hand him all my broken heart. So I became a quiet frame to hang beside his gilded name. I smiled so he wouldn't ask, wore silence like a silver mask. I gave him sugar, gave him light, and tucked my darkness out of sight. He loved the way I lit the room, but never saw the bloom of gloom. I smiled so he'd stay can't unpeel a woman slow and not expect what you don't know. Some grins are grief in velvet skin, some lips are prisons locked within. I smiled so he wouldn't ask, and he believed behind his flask that joy was mine to give, to spare, not something cracked beyond repair. But smiles can break when stretched too far, and mine's now dust inside a jar. He never knew and never will that smile was just a way to kill. She crossed her legs like I once did, laughed at jokes I used to read, ordered red just like my taste, took my seat without a trade. He touched her hand the same old way, like nothing ever went astray. And though they smiled so perfectly, she sat where I used to be. She sat where I used to be, in that booth by table 3, where I spilled truth and sipped regret, where my perfume still lingers yet. She leaned into the light just right, while I dissolved into the night. No plaque, no mark, no memory. She sat where I used to be. He told her stories carved from me, lines rehearsed so comfortably. She didn't flinch, she didn't blink, she didn't know what I still think. I watched her stir her drink so slow, like I once did when fear would grow. But now the fear belongs to me. She sat where I used to be. She sat where I used to be, with soft hands and certainty. She wore the look I tried to fake before I learned how hearts can break. She smiled in ways I used to try, and didn't have to wonder why. He looked at her and not at me. She sat where I used to be. Chairs don't cry and rooms don't mourn, they host the new and hide the torn. But when I pass that place again, I feel the shape of what had been. She sat where I used to be, and didn't know she's history, that every laugh she breathes tonight is borrowed from a dim spotlight. But I won't knock, I won't intrude. I've learned to live outside the mood. Just let her stay, just let it be. She sat where I used to be. The piano started soft and low, same notes I danced to long ago. The melody that held my hand Now hits like waves I can't withstand. The chords are slow, but I still flinch, like muscle memory won't give an inch in. It used to be our favorite line, now every measure scars the spine. Don't pour me that song again. Don't play what used to feel like skin. It's not just notes, it's how I bled. It's how he smiled and left instead. Don't pour me that song again. It tastes too much like where I've been, like kisses drenched in cheap champagne and nights that echo down the drain. Think it's just a lovely tune, but they weren't there that quiet June when silence split between two chairs and jazz kept breathing through despair. The singer croons, the crowd leans in, but I just feel the room go dim, 'cause some songs wear a ghost's perfume and resurrect what shouldn't bloom. Don't pour me that song again. Don't let it pour into my pen. I've written tears in time before, but now I lock the music door. Don't pour me that song again. I won't pretend, I won't defend. It plays too close, it plays too loud and leaves me drowning in a crowd. You think it swings, you call it art, but it still breaks my phantom heart. So let it fade, let silence win. Don't pour me that song again. Don't pour me that song again. Let someone else dance where I've been. My glass is full of what we lacked. I can't survive that soundtrack. So lift the needle, stop the spin. Let other voices waltz it in, but not for me. Not now, not then. Don't pour me that song again. They love the way I lit a room with jokes that bloomed against the gloom. They never guessed the cost I paid to keep the ghost and tears delayed. I clinked my glass, I played the part, but laughter only held a star. They never stayed for curtain calls or saw the cracks behind my walls. My laugh hid the cracks like paint on stone. It kept me warm, but not alone. It bounced through halls, it filled the air while silence twisted in my hair. I giggled through the sharpest ache, so no one asked how much I break. My laugh hid the cracks so well they They said she's strong, she's so alive, but didn't see me barely survive. Each chuckle stitched across my face to cover wounds I can't erase. I tossed a line, I cued the grin, I practiced joy beneath my skin. But laughter isn't what it seems, it's just applause between the screams. My laugh hid the cracks in heels and pearls. tracks. It told the world I'm still their girl, but underneath the flawless show was pain that didn't want to grow. I told the joke, they took the bait while I sat drowning on my plate. My laugh hid the cracks with every act. There's music in the way I lied, a rhythm in the way I cried. They danced along, they never knew that every laugh pulled me in two. My laugh hid the cracks too well to see. They loved the mask much more than me. So when I stopped, the room went still, surprised to see I had a will. And though I missed the way they cheered, I'm done performing what I feared. My laugh was sweet, but it attacked. Now let the silence fill the cracks. He left without a single sound. No slamming door, no shaking ground, no letter tucked beneath the light. Just empty corners every night. The key stayed hanging on the hook. He vanished clean like in a book. But every page I try to turn still aches with lessons I unlearned. Still waiting on his goodbye, the word he never let me try. He slipped between the closing hours and left me with his fading flowers. Still waiting on his goodbye. No final glance, no reason why. Just silence dressed in his cologne, and me still sitting here alone. I checked my phone for days and weeks, replayed his voice between the creaks of floorboards where he used to pace, now haunted more by empty space. They say he's gone, that I should mend, but how do you outlive the end? When no one said it ever came, when no one dared to speak its name. Still waiting on his goodbye, like maybe I just missed the sign. Maybe he blinked and meant to stay, but memory don't work that way. Still waiting on his goodbye, still setting plates, still asking why. Like time will knock and bring him in, like grief still wears his perfect grin. You don't get closure when they fade, you get the echo of once made. And every step you try to take still falls through floors he did